are you meaning to share your screen?
I think he's trying to close out of it. Nick Hartman. Hi, Robert.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep. Did you make it back from Nashville?
I did, and you know, it's true. I mean, we all agree, but it's true what they say. It's 101 in Nashville and 70% humidity. So when I got back to Sky Harbor last evening, it felt great.
It helps you put things in perspective about the dry heat that everyone jokes about.
Yeah, and I mean, there's no better time than when you're in it and then you come back and you get off the plane and you go, oh, it is true. I remember. How's everyone else doing? Good.
It's Friday. All right, it is 10 o'clock. We do have a quorum of 7 members. And probably at least a couple more that I believe are calling in, so, or logging in. So
we good to go then?
I believe we are. We do definitely need one more member though when we get to the DPS grant.
Okay.
Let's see. Kent Volkmer will not be present today for Pinal, so we won't have a recusal issue there. I'm still waiting on Brad Conley, unless he's on the line, and Susan Trask. And do we by chance have Leslie Lemens on the phone? All right. So I believe we're okay to get started when we get to the grant portion.
And?
Oh, you're Leslie, you're here. Okay.
Yeah,
Great.
I'm here. Sorry, I'm having a hard time unmuting.
Okay, perfect. Because yeah, she'll have to recuse for the county grant. So, all right, we have 8 members currently.
Okay. We'll make. Sorry, I'm all lost. Do a call to order, and Ann, if you could do the roll call.
All righty. Chief Solberg.
Here.
Kent Volkmer, absent. Joe Brocious.
Hi, Mayor.
Sheriff Joseph Dedman. Director Eric Jorgensen. Colonel Heston Silbert.
Walter Mercer for Heston Silbert.
All right. Rachel Mitchell. We've got Leslie.
Leslie Lemens for Rachel Mitchell.
All righty. Sheriff Paul Penzone. I believe we have Mr. Letourneau on the phone. Mr. Letourneau, are you there? He's on our list. So Chief Alanis.
Here.
Robert Smith.
Here.
Brian Wright.
I'm here.
Brad Conley. All right. That concludes our roll call.
Thank you. And I don't know if you saw my message, but if you can, I'm going off an old script. Can you send me the agenda for today?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So I'm going to proceed as if it's normal.
Yep.
All right. Let's see. Next up, board chair report.
Do we do the minutes first?
Oh, yeah, we can do that.
Okay.
Meeting minutes. Any comments or questions or concerns or edits for the minutes from our last meeting? All right, if we can get a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting.
Motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting.
Thank you, Robert. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you, Joe. All in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Next up, now is it chair report?
I
Okay,
just sent you the agenda too, Chief. It
right,
should be in your
thank you.
inbox.
thank you.
Yes, now we have the director's report.
All right, thank you.
Anne, are we recording the meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
Sheriff Dedman, is that you?
Yes, ma'am.
All righty. Thank you.
Anne, I don't know if we're recording or not. Amanda is telling me are we
We're
okay?
recording. I see the record button.
Yeah, it's up in the corner now.
Okay, very good. Mr. Chairman, members, good morning. I'd like to start this morning by welcoming a new task force commander. Captain Borquez transferred to a highway patrol district, and we have now been given Captain Eric Axland, who came from the CI division office. So I've worked with Captain Axland in the past and had really good luck with him. And so far, he's been great to work with over the last month or so that he's been in place. So just like to welcome Captain Axland to the task force. We're expecting great things from him. Second, I just wanted to acknowledge Holly Wan, who was from the Attorney General's office. She supported the board for, obviously for legal counsel, and she departed the AG's office a couple of weeks ago. Lynette Evans is taking over for her, maybe temporarily until they find a replacement. But Holly was great to work with, and I just wanted to acknowledge what she did for us. I know she works probably closer with us than she does with the board, but she was always very timely and thoughtful in her decisions and advice to us. So I was sorry to see her go, but we're happy for what she did for us. Moving on to the budget. As you know, we have no state budget yet. And we moved this meeting from May, I don't know, a couple of years ago, because we often didn't have a budget in May, but we always expected to have one in June. And now that's really not coming to fruition. But we are cautiously optimistic that they will pass a budget in the next couple of weeks. The one thing that we have in the budget is, and it was what appeared in the executive budget, which is the governor's budget in January, and that was $109,200 that covered any DPS raises that would be voted in this year as well. So both of those issues really need to move together if we're going to keep the task force whole and not have the problem that we've had in past years where DPS gets a raise and they don't give us funding to cover that raise. So we're hoping that the budget does get passed, and we're hoping that the $109,000 is included in that. Additionally, I've started work on the fiscal year 24 funding issues. This is the document that I will hand to Director Daniels to help him make a case in front of OSPB, the governor's office, to add additional funding to the ATA. Our priorities this year, we kind of have two priorities. They will be the vertical prosecution funding. That's going to be a fairly large ask. It's from what my numbers show right now, it's about $431,000 to give that program full funding. And then, of course, the database subscription funding, which is sitting somewhere between 134 and 153,000, depending on exactly what we ask for. Those two issues I fully expect to go forth. There's two additional issues that I'm working on. I don't know whether they'll actually make it or not. It'll be a decision that DIFI makes on how much they want to ask for and how it competes with other DIFI asks. But just things I'm thinking about are additions to the law enforcement grants that we issue. We have a very small amount to issue to outside agencies, usually less than $27,000 at the end of the year. We try to spend every dime of that, and we think that that could be enhanced for a lot more innovation from agencies and really help them out. So we would ask for $50,000 additional to that category. And then the other thing that I'm thinking about is with another DPS issue with the cost of fuel. That's paid for out of the ATA grant at the task force, and their fuel consumption cost is probably going to double like everybody else's. That's all not covered. So we may have to go in for an additional ask on that. Captain Axland is actually doing some research for us currently on that issue. So there could be a total of 4 asks, 2 of them for sure. The next thing I wanted to talk about was just a quick MBD success story. I'm sorry that Susan Trask isn't on the line because at the April auto theft, or excuse me, the Arizona Auto Theft Investigators Association meeting, Glendale PD brought up an issue involving an MVD process, and it actually, under kind of a set of unique circumstances, would allow a stolen vehicle to be re-registered by the thief and replated, and the new license plate would not show stolen in the system. So I asked Glendale to send me some information. They wrote a bit of a white paper on it. The very next day, I gave it to Susan Trask, and within a day or so, she had taken it to her team at MVD and actually had the issue solved. So I know that their solution has actually taken several different iterations now, but it is scheduled to go into effect in July. It takes MVD a little bit of time to reconfigure their computer systems to deal with any type of issues they have with that. But it looks like July is going to be an issue, or it's going to be a solution at that point. And I just wanted to thank Susan for her quick work on it, and just having her and MVD represented on the board, is a real benefit for a situation like this. And now moving on to Watch Your Car, that program, there's been a lot of, I guess, movement in that program, it seems like, since the last board meeting. In February, just as a reminder, we started out with 16,822 enrollees. As of June, we're up to 18,500. And so we're just under 1,700 new enrollments during that period. So our projection of 300 enrollees a month seems to be, it fluctuates up and down, but that seems to be fairly accurate still. We did a presentation in May at the Arizona Crime Prevention Officers Association, which Ann is going to cover in more detail during her segment. And kind of along the same lines, we knew we needed to kind of reintroduce this program to a new generation of law enforcement officers. And in furtherance of that, we sent out law enforcement training materials, and Ann will cover her actions in regard to that as well. Now, the ACIC database project, there's been a lot of movement on that since the last meeting. First off, the name has been changed by Planet Technologies. So they now refer to this as the Auto Crime Tracking Database. So the acronym is ACT. So that's probably how I'll be referring to it from here on out. April 19th was kind of the day for us. That is the day that Planet Technologies began receiving transactions from DPS. So that meant that anything going into the NCIC system was also going into Planet Technologies database. What we've noticed is, of course, the location data that we added is still hit or miss with agencies, because not all agencies are prepared to, with their RMS systems, to give us location data. DPS gave them a year to comply with that requirement. The good news is there are some agencies that are already location data compliant, and Phoenix PD is one of those. So them being one of the largest stolen vehicle providers, it does give us some good data for Phoenix and that. So my guess is it's about probably 60% of the agencies are probably not giving location data, 40% are. But again, so we just know that's going to get better as the year progresses. The data migration grant that the board approved last time for $5,000, where we would go back and grab all the data from January 1st, 2022. That has been completed, so that information is in the database as well. And we are currently in an evaluation period, so this is a no charge period. Everybody's just kind of both the task force and ATA staff have access to the database, and we're going in there and trying to figure out how to work it and things like that. I will tell you that it's been a little bit slow, I think, on our end and with the task force as well, trying to figure out how to use the database and just kind of looking for some bugs and things like that. But we do have a few things in place to address that. I've been working with Captain Axland to send a contingent of his personnel to Colorado to work with Colorado State Police or State Patrol analyst up there, who seems to be one of the leaders in knowing how to use the database. So our plan is to send the task force analyst, a task force sergeant, and a task force detective to Colorado. It looks like that could happen as soon as the end of July or so. As far as everyone knows, we are not funded for any type of subscription for the database, and that's what we'll be going after this year for fiscal year 24. But I was able to negotiate a 1-year kind of discounted rate with Planet Technologies, and we were able to go from $120,000, which was their first asking price, down to $70,000. And I received the scope of work for the subscription costs, and I'm proposing to split the costs of that subscription between the ATA and the task force using ISA money this year. So I'll cover that a little bit more detail with my next segment. I'm also working on a briefing document for the tasks for the database for the director to use with in his budget negotiations with the director's office, with the governor's office. So I'm really trying to get him as fully prepared with knowing what's going on and the full history of where we've been, how we started with the database, what the reason is for it, and things like that, and just make sure he's fully prepared. I would show today, I considered showing you the board what the database kind of looks like and what the, the web appearance of it and such. But we're really at a point where it's just too early to truly show you functionality. So I believe in September we'll be in a much better position to show you some of the capabilities of the database and kind of take you on a tour at that point. Is there anybody
Chief
have
Solberg,
any
did you have a
questions?
question? You have a hand up.
Yeah, just on the ACT, on the 60% that are not reporting, what's the deadline, and who and when are they going to send out reminders and notifications for those that aren't doing it?
Yeah, I don't have the it's probably been, my guess, probably 2 or 3 months since DPS notified those agencies. So my guess is, and I can verify this with an actual date, but they have been a while configuring this, because I don't believe any of the agencies were set up to deliver this information to ACIC. So the fact that agencies are reporting this tells me that they've had some lead time and they've been able to configure their RMSs to respond. So I would say that there's probably 9 months or so left.
Okay, I was just curious because I'm not sure if we're reporting or not, so I'll try to find out on my end.
Great. All right, and my last segment here is on the interagency service agreement. Today I'll be requesting board approval for an ISA once again between ATA and DPS. This is the year-end ISA. It's the second of 2 that we have been doing each fiscal year. The first one, of course, is around $200,000, and then the second one, which is the case this time, is $135,000, and it is generally considered for vehicle buildup. So the first ISA of 200,000, they buy vehicles, the task force does. The 135 then comes in to accomplish the vehicle buildup, which includes vehicle equipment and the labor for the emergency equipment. The ISA, as written, allows for some spending discretion on the part of the task force. So we have expanded it to include, as I mentioned, vehicles, equipment, labor, and we've also included IT projects, which is what the database falls under. So my proposal to the board currently is to do the $135,000 and then to add $35,000 from the ATA lump sum. And the lump sum is what we pay for ATA salaries and other operating and things like that out of. So that's it's not grant money that we give out. It is just what we use to run the ATA. And we have $35,000 extra this year that we have been trying to safeguard for this purpose, because we knew we were going to have to essentially cobble together some funding this year to try and get the database off the ground. So those 2 figures would represent $170,000 for an ISA to DPS. And I'm proposing that once it gets over there, that the task force then covers the 12-month ACT subscription for $70,000, and that would leave $100,000 for vehicle builds. And I think this is going to work out okay, because Captain Axland, I know, is going to discuss the status of their vehicle ordering, and I think that we have time on our side as far as to build these vehicles up. And in the event that there is any type of shortfall in the vehicle buildup, I believe I'm confident that we can address that in fiscal year 23. So I guess my request at this point, Mr. Chairman, would be request approval of an ISA for $170,000 to cover those issues that I mentioned.
Director, do we also need to approve the $200,000 for the vehicles, or did we already do that?
That was done at the January meeting, sir.
Okay, can we get a motion to approve $170,000 for the vehicle equipment and subscription?
Motion to approve the ISA as described by the director.
Thank you, Robert. Second. Thank you, Chief. Alanis. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Walter Mercer abstaining.
Great.
Oh, thank you. All right, I believe that passed with Mercer abstaining.
Yep.
Sorry. All right, sorry, I got dogs barking in the background. All right, let's see. On anything else, Director? Sorry.
Mr. Chairman, members, that concludes my report, and I'm
Okay.
happy to answer any questions on anything that I've covered or anything else.
All right. Hearing none, turn it over to Frank for the financial report.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with all of you. Okay. So here is where we were at the end of May of this year. So at the end of May, the fund balance had $9,587,000. With the assessments, the first assessment and second assessment with our investment income and money that we did receive from the House bill for metal management, we have received over $7,064,849 in FY22. Our appropriation, we have spent $455,447, and we have $203,853 available. And Director McGuffin has kind of explained how we're going to spend a majority of that funds. Grants, we have spent $5,301,199, and I have 51 cents in there for a reason, because we only have available in the grant funds 49 cents. That is probably the lowest we've ever gotten that section down to. We still have $1,432 in the Sims fund. Excuse me. Any questions on at the end of May where the numbers are at? All right, not hearing any. I'm going to move over to our expenditure plan that will get us through FY22. I'm anticipating $2,500 for investment income. And I realized after I put that in that actually might increase, because typically the Secretary of State's office does increase that number based on money that they held back. So we're going to see how that comes in. Payroll, because there's 3 pay cycles this month, we're looking at about a little over $27,000 in payroll. We are going to have in-state travel of $1,000 because Amanda is going to a conference in Tucson at the end of June. Operating expenses, we will have approximately $1,000 with some of the mail, with the Watch Your Car stickers that are going out, and then just any copier and office maintenance stuff that we do use. The $3,500 is we're actually finally at the point where we almost have paid for all the new computers for ATA staff, and this is our remaining funds that we're going to be using is for Jamie's and my new computer. And as Mr. McGuffin mentioned, the $170,000 that will be transferred over to DPS. Down here, the $51,273, it's kind of a little bit deceiving. We only, at this moment in time, would be putting back over $1,000 into the fund balance for ATA. The $50,000 is for the reimbursable program that we really do not actually get. It's just a number that we have to hold. So at this moment in time, I am looking that we might add $1,273.28 back to the fund balance at the end of FY22. Any questions? Okay. And I don't know if I need to have approval to continue with the expenditure plan for June.
I believe we do an approval, yeah, for 22 and 23.
Okay. Can I have an approval?
Normally we don't meet this late in the year,
Right.
so it's kind of weird.
Mr. Chairman and members of the board, can I have approval to continue with the expenditure plan for FY22?
Motion to approve as described by Mr. Sabalos.
Thank you, Robert. Do we have a second?
Second.
Is that Chief Sheriff Judgment?
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All in favor of approval, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that is approved. Thank you, Frank.
All right, moving on to FY23 expenditure plan. A little bit of a tricky one because we don't have a budget yet, so I had to use the information that was available from the governor's office back in January. With the anticipation of having $8,815,000 rolling over to FY23 from our fund balance, this is how I started the projections. I'm anticipating a 1.5% increase in our assessment, which will bring us out to $7,139,624 for FY23. I kept an average for our assessment investment income of $27.67, and then payroll is pretty consistent for ATA. We'll see a massive change when we have 3 pay periods. The grant category at this time, I have it staying the same. So each vertical prosecution, each quarter, it is going to be $232,735.38 that we will issue out. And I have a lump sum in one category of $26,758 because we do have to wait till April before we can issue any other grants out. I did forget this. Professional outside services. In August, we will be entering back into to contract with Heinfeld and Meach to do the audit on ATA funds. This is going to be the first time we have done this audit since we merged with DiFi. We have discussed, myself and Heinfeld and Meach, we only have to do one financial year review. So we will be doing this on FY22, which is actually a good thing because FY21 has all the merger. So there's a lot of shuffling going on with funds, and it would have been really confusing for anybody to understand. This is going to be the first assessment audit review, I guess you could say, where Heinfeld and Meach is going to actually have to physically be in the office because we do not have paper. I have gone completely paperless, so they're going to have to sit with me, and we're going to have to figure out how they're going to conduct the audit. So that figure is in the projections here. And then this miscellaneous equipment, non-equipment, capital equipment that we have to pay for, mostly it's Adobe licensing. ATA does have one of the higher Adobe licenses because of all the graphic stuff that Amanda produces. At the very bottom, I am anticipating that the task force would receive that extra funds, breaking that out, bringing them to $1,113,175 over the 4 quarters. I do project us giving the task force $200,000 in February, and then $135,000 in June. We do have $60,000 that right at this moment, Mr. McGuffin is still figuring out how he would like to utilize that. But at this time, we're just putting it as a placeholder. So we know that we are going to use it. We're just not fully 100% sure where it's going to go. So at the end of the day, I am saying that we're going to probably give back at this moment $4,666.33, which would bring our fund balance to $9,983,214. That is our FY projection at this moment. Any questions? Okay. With none being asked, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, can I have approval to move forth with my projection as I stated?
Can we get a motion? Good.
Sorry about that.
No.
Motion to approve the FY23 projected spending plan as described by Mr. Sabalos.
Thank you, Robert. Do we have a second?
Second.
Letourneau, thank you.
Yeah. Yep.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? All righty. Thank you, Frank.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, that concludes my report. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
All right. Thank you, Frank.
You're welcome, sir. Have a great day.
Thank you. Ann, grants?
All right, Mr. Chair, members, we'll be discussing the fiscal year 23 grants on our next bullet item. I'm currently closing out the fiscal year 22 grants for all of our grantees, as well as the end of fiscal year grants that we approved at the March meeting. So as Jamie mentioned, we hosted the Arizona Crime Prevention Conference May 23rd and 24th. We had almost 110 attendees. We had in-person and virtual option, and we just had a handful of folks attend virtually. So it was great. It was the first conference I've been to or hosted or been involved with for a couple of years now. So it was nice to get out and see so many new faces. As Jamie mentioned, we provided the new Watch Your Car training materials. Amanda presented during the conference for the new training that we've launched. We also had materials there for folks. I also want to thank Detective Burt Robinson from the task force. He provided training on catalytic converter thefts, and which was a really hot topic. And the day of his training, Phoenix PD had that big bust where they had 1,200 stolen catalytic converters that they found in a storage unit down by the airport. So it's a problem that's still plaguing all of these cities, and crime prevention folks are trying to figure out a way to, kind of get a handle on it in their communities. So we've also shared the Watch Your Car training materials with ACOP, the Arizona Sheriff's Association, and APAC, as well as sent it out to all of the conference attendees. Let's see, we've had, Amanda will report, we've had some of our campaigns that we've run since our March meeting. Amanda will present those, and Amanda also has, as Frank mentioned, the PISA, the Police International Sonora, Arizona conference down in Tucson next week. She'll be there with her, all of the Auto Theft Authority giveaways and promotional items. So at this point, I think I'll turn it over to Amanda and she can provide her outreach report.
Give me just a second. Thank you, Ann. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen of the board, for our public awareness campaign, through April, we did a lot of jump-in thefts or cars left running, basically targeting our easier target vehicles. We did a variety of campaign and ads. You'll notice the two different sizes. That's just more or less, we tailor our ads to the platform. So Instagram is more square, whereas our longer ones are for Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn as well. Our next campaign the following month, we stuck with the jump-in themes, but we focused more on the fact that people leave people and animals vulnerable when they leave these auto running. We've got our children, obviously, and then, of course, who doesn't like a good dog picture? So we went ahead and really just tugged at our heartstrings there to make sure that people take an extra second. We don't want to leave them out. We don't want to leave our pets and animals in a running car. It's bad for Arizona in general, but just bad to leave them subject to being kidnapped and taken away. Currently running are our ads regarding our at a glance. Our at a glance has very good turnout. We have those documents and out on our website, but we went ahead and wanted to focus on some of the highlights. Again, we've increased our time, if you haven't noticed, from a previous 30 minutes for auto theft to about 33 minutes. And then highlight again, what's always good and interesting are our vehicles that are the hot stolen, where we're at in the rates in the rest of the US, as well as where we've come as an agency. Looking forward, going forward, we're going to go ahead and focus on July Auto Theft Prevention Month. We're partnering again with AATA, with the TPA groups. For Auto Theft Prevention Month, we're going to have an interactive graphic as well as some ads that will go out throughout the month. We're also looking and had a request from DPS to do some public education on how to purchase a vehicle. Double check that VIN, make sure that it's not switched, it's not a destroyed vehicle or a stolen vehicle. Again, we want to go ahead and focus on that. We've done such a good job with Watch Your Car that we want to now at a position to promote it. So we'll be running some ads with that. And then we're coming up into August and September really fast. So we're going to go back to school. Again, reminding people not to leave your laptops, your bags, things you're purchasing at schools. And then before you know it, we're right back into the holidays. So we'll be focusing again more on purchases, high dollar items, and how much our vehicles are not safe. So we want to go ahead and remove those items. And I'll go ahead and turn it back over to you.
All right. Thanks, Amanda. Good job. Unless there are any questions, that concludes my report.
All right, thank you, Ann. Next up is me, the Law Enforcement Subcommittee report. We met on Tuesday, the 14th, and reviewed the grants. And the subcommittee approved all of the grant recommendations, and we have those for your review today. Ann, will you be highlighting those?
Yes, sir, I will.
Thank you.
All right. As Chief mentioned, we met on Tuesday to review the grants, the task force, and then the 6 vertical prosecution grants. And as we've been discussing throughout the meeting, other than the task force having, a little bit of a bump up, the rest of our grantees are going to have to remain at the same funding level that they've been at, not just for current year, but for the last 5-6 years, actually. So as Jamie mentioned, we are going to try to address that in fiscal year 24 and hope for just a different outcome. So we'll start with the Vehicle Theft Task Force grant number 1922. Subcommittee recommendation is $4,452,700. And we'll need a motion and a recusal.
Was that Joe?
Any
I didn't
recusal?
say anything, but I'll make a motion to approve as written.
Thank you, Joe. Sorry, whoever did that. Can we get a second?
Second.
Thank you, Robert. All in favor? Please say aye.
All right.
Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, that passes. Thank you.
All righty. Our fiscal year 23 vertical prosecution grant requests. And I think we can just do these as one big motion at the end, similar to what we did the law enforcement meeting on Tuesday, Chief. All right, La Paz County Attorney's Office, grant number 1912, subcommittee recommendation is $119,714. Pima County Attorney's Office, grant number 1919, subcommittee recommendation is $216,056. Maricopa County Attorney's Office, grant number 1917, subcommittee recommendation is $235,751. Mojave County Attorney's Office, grant number 1920, in the amount of subcommittee recommendation in the amount of $109,566. Pinal County Attorney's Office, grant number 1918, subcommittee recommendation is $169,060. And lastly, Santa Cruz County Attorney's Office, grant number 1928, subcommittee recommendation $80,795.
Thank you, Ann. Can I get a motion to approve all 6 of the vertical prosecution grants?
Motion to approve the FY23 vertical prosecution grants as described by Ms. Armstrong.
Thank you, Robert. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you, David.
And we'll need Maricopa County to recuse, and since Kent Volkmer's not here, we're fine on the other.
Okay, and we've got enough votes for
Yeah,
all the
Leslie
rest, right?
Lamont on behalf of Rachel Mitchell.
Okay.
Thank you, Leslie. With Leslie abstaining, all others, please indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. Those 6 pass. And
Thank
you
you.
don't yeah, that's it for the law enforcement subcommittee. So to you, Robert, the public awareness subcommittee,
Nothing further to add.
law enforcement subcommittee or legislative subcommittee, anything to add?
Nothing further to add. Thank you.
Thank you. Leslie, Maricopa County Sheriff's Office, or sorry, Attorney's Office. Vertical prosecution update.
Nothing to add.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, nothing to add.
Any other update for vertical prosecution? And do you know if anyone?
I do. I know we have some folks on the line. I believe we've got Nick Hartman from Pinal County.
Yeah, good morning, Chairman, Board. Just brief updates, is keeping my head above water in Pinal County. As I put in my proposal, the population growth is, exploding, as well as auto theft. I walked in Monday, had about 5 in jails to charge, and it's been pretty consistent. It's been about 1 auto theft to 2 auto theft in jails a day for the last month. So it seems to be booming. But lately, State versus Andre Morales was my last trial. It was a residential burglary in Phoenix that resulted in an auto theft, taking the victim's car and then traveling to Pinal County. Andre Morales was stopped by officers pretty quickly, and it was a pretty straightforward case. The judge ended up sentencing Andre Morales to 14 years in the Arizona Department of Corrections. State versus Rios, which is a task force case. I think I talked about this case a couple times, which basically the defendant was stealing cars off of a Hertz parking lot, or kind of a Hertz parking lot that was off site just due to the overflow during COVID. It was unsecure. He ended up stealing at least 2 cars and then trafficking those cars. The judge ended up sentencing him to 7.5 years in the Arizona Department of Corrections. Just in April, I would like to highlight that I was running the numbers, and I just looked at April. I was able to secure in restitution $74,000 across 5 cases. It seems to be, before, when defendants were going to the Arizona Department of Corrections, they didn't have an issue with stipulating the restitution, but lately there's been a lot of contested hearings. So usually Monday afternoon, after the criminal court day, usually at 4 o'clock. I've been pretty consistent each day with the last few months of doing contested restitution hearings. Haven't lost one yet. Got the full amount on all of them across the board, but I think that $74,000 number is pretty huge, just trying to make the victims whole as possible. And that's my report. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Nick. We also have, I believe, still on the line, Tori Bryant from La Paz County Attorney's Office.
Yes. Yes, I'm still
Hi.
here.
Hi, Tori. Thanks.
Hi to the chairman and members of the board. In La Paz County, we were getting a lot of failure to return rental cars. Although none of them have gotten to the plea stage yet, the issue has become whether or not the person in possession of the car knew that it was stolen from Hertz or Avis or whichever company. Sometimes we have active participation from the rental car company, and sometimes we just don't get a response, and that leaves me in a position to decide whether or not to dismiss. A recent case that I just received was a case between a divorced couple where the defendant claimed he was still married to the victim. She was very methodical in taking his name off of all of her property, including the vehicle that she drives. She also had a specific provision in her insurance rider that prohibited him from using any of her cars or being insured to drive them. And that is what got a probable cause finding at his PH earlier this week. So that is where we are in La Paz. Thank you.
Right. Thanks, Tori. I think we also have Brad Terrace from Pima County Attorney's Office.
Thank you, Chairman, members of the board. Just a brief update from Pima County. Before I came on to the unit in November, Matt Ashton was handling the majority of the cases, as well as shipping out cases to, I believe there were 4 prosecutors that were handling some auto theft. Now that we are a self-contained unit between the 2 of us, I believe we're closing in on the 250 case mark between the 2 of us. So it is quite busy down in Pima. We haven't had any trials recently, but we have some coming up towards the end of summer and early fall.
Great. Thanks, Brad. I believe that's it, unless I missed anyone on the line. All right.
Thank you, Ann. All righty. Captain Axland, welcome to the task force. You'd like to provide a report?
Thank you, sir. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. The following are stolen vehicles, dope seizures, and arrests for March 1st, 2022 through May 31st, 2022. The task force recovered 486 stolen vehicles, valued at approximately $7,570,494, with 94 arrests. 43 of those 94 arrests had drug charges attached to them. The task force seized approximately 2.6 grams of coke, 9 ounces of meth, 10 ounces of fentanyl, and 29 grams of marijuana. The task force authored 13 residential search warrants, 2 vehicle search warrants, and 8 electronic search warrants. Task force had 841 other agency assists, and the task force seized 6 guns, 1 of which was stolen. On to staffing. We have a DPS detective from another work group waiting for High Patrol to fill a position so he can be released to the task force. The federal agency Homeland Security Investigations has expressed interest in adding an agent to our task force. The intergovernmental agreement has been created and sent to Homeland Security Investigations for final review. We will get 1 free body other than providing the agent with some equipment for the task force. Some upcoming trends and events and issues. Motorcycle thefts are up in Tempe and Chandler. With the weather change, we are finding more stolen vehicles with keys in them. People want to keep their vehicles cool and will leave them running at gas stations or in their driveways. This month, the task force is assisting Glendale PD with a stolen vehicle detail in their area of responsibility. We're conducting business inspections and saturation patrols. During this detail, we are educating our Glendale PD partners in our investigative methods and techniques. In May, the task force received information of a stolen tow truck outside of Phoenix residence. During the stolen recovery, 2 other vehicles on the street and 1 in a driveway at a residence were also found to be stolen. A search warrant was served at the residence by SWAT due to a shooting being reported recently at the residence. Fully operational chop shop was found at the residence. 12 stolen vehicles were recovered, to include motorcycles, trailers, ATVs, and a flatbed tow truck. The suspect was identified and is still outstanding. Our ordered 5 Ford F-150s with the $200,000 that was awarded to us has been placed on the administrative adjustment list, as they will not be received by June 30th due to supply chain issues. That concludes my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions at this time.
All right. I don't hear anything. Thank you, Captain Axland. Appreciate it. Do we have any members of the public that would like to speak or have any comments? All righty. Hearing none. That concludes all of our events and topics. Our next meeting is scheduled for September 16th, online again. Unless there's anything else, could I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Robert. And a second?
Second. Go ahead.
Thank you, Sheriff. All right. Everyone have a good weekend. Happy Father's Day to all, and stay cool this summer. See you in September.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.